Thank you for tuning in. I am your host, Joseph Martin. Hit that like and subscribe button to support the channel and hit that bell icon to receive notifications. All right, now that we got that out of the way, we are going to talk about why women earn more money than men. And I think that this is a very important conversation for us to have as men. Okay. Now, if you don't know what this channel is about, read the description to get a full detail. I'm going to keep it real brief. I like to focus on, and what we like to focus on here is building generational wealth fueled by insightful financial and self-education. Okay. Now, let me give you my definition of generational wealth so you'll know what I mean when I say that. Generational wealth is passing down your blood, your name, your last name, or your first name. You might have a junior or something. And your resources to your lineage. You passing down your blood, your name, and your resources to your lineage. Finances, or money is a resource. Property, businesses, stocks, bonds, investments, all those are going to be resources. You passing that down to your lineage. That's generational wealth. So what I found in my experience and conversations and just being observant, looking at celebrities, having conversations with just regular everyday people, there's a huge difference between the motivating fuel behind a successful man and the motivation behind a successful woman. One of the main differences is if this person is thinking about themselves or they're thinking about someone else. So when you're thinking about a situation that's bigger than yourself, that's going to be in the realm of generational wealth, because you know that what you're building isn't just for you. You're passing that down. So I'm talking about in the context of successful men that want to be successful so they can also take care of themselves, their wife, and their children. I was about to say wives. That's why it sounded all funny. Themselves, their wife, and their children. They want to earn a lot of money or be financially secure so they can do that. That's part of it. And then the other reason you have men that want to be successful is so they can have their pick of women. So that they know that the more money they have, the more choices they have when it comes to women. They're not really worried about settling down. They might have kids, but they're not really settling down. So those are the whys behind a man wanting to be successful. Here's what I found that was the huge difference between most women who want to be successful. They're not talking about, I want to be successful so I can take care of myself, my husband, and my kids so I can leave everything to them when I'm gone. That don't even sound right saying it out loud. That ain't her motivation. That ain't what she thinking about. Usually women that want to be successful so they don't have to depend on a man. I have never heard a man say that he had to be successful or wanted to be successful so he didn't have to depend on a woman. That ain't even on his mind. So right from the gate, if a woman is driven to be successful so she don't have to depend on a man, she's already removing him from the equation. He's not even there, let alone kids. And I'm talking about in a traditional family sense. Man, woman equal kids. So he's not even part of the equation. All right. He's not even there. And then there's a difference between single successful women and single successful men. Single successful women usually could care less about settling down with a man. Remember, if they were motivated not to have to depend on a man, soon as he say something she don't like, he's gone. She don't even really put him in a situation where he can have anything to say. It's a game. And she lives her best life until those looks start to fade. When dudes ain't beating on her door no more. They not in her DMs like crazy no more. Looks is fading. She's washed up in the looks department. She ain't easy on the eyes no more. You see it in the celebrity world with females all of the time. They be creeping into their 60s, 50s, or they're in them, and now they trying to settle down, and they look through. I'm just being honest. They look through. They have standards now that's up here. They want a man up here, but they look down here. It's not, it ain't right no more. So the other thing that's funny about, in this particular sense, we talking about women, they know exactly what kind of man they want. No doubt. They know exactly what kind of man they want. But here's the question they don't ask themselves. That man you just described, what do you think he wants in a woman? And I'm talking about pin drop crickets. Because now, if she's being honest, it ain't you. If he have all of these things going for himself, he wants a woman that's younger, that doesn't have a career that she's going to prioritize over the family. We talked about generational wealth earlier. He's going to want a woman that can stay home with the kids and raise the kids because he already making enough money to take care of everybody. Young, attractive, submissive, and fertile because he's trying to pass down his resources, his blood, his name. So that's that part. Now, let's talk about single successful men. So why is it that you see successful men that's single? Statistics show that the most successful men are actually married. When you see a single successful man, usually that's because he makes bad decisions with women. It ain't that he don't have kids. He has bad decision making when it comes to women. He's just picking them based off physical reasons, not life reasons, not wife reasons. She for the streets. He make bad decisions when it comes to women, and his fear of losing his finances to this woman that he picked for the wrong reason, he stays or chooses to be single. So success is actually being married. That's part of you protecting your generational wealth. That's part of being successful for a man, to be married to one woman and pass everything down through his family, to have influence and leadership in his family. Now, the video is about why women earn more money than men, and we getting there. So here's where we start to really dive and sink our teeth into this. Physical labor, okay? So men are naturally stronger than women. This is not a gender war or competition. It's just facts. So men can be lazy in our thinking when it comes to how can I earn money? So we're thinking just in the physical sense. That's why we end up in jobs that's physical labor. Something in construction, trades, electrician. And then if our pay is good, it's because the job is dangerous. Like nobody wants to do it. It's not even men in this field that you in, like working on oil rigs, like stuff like that, fixing wind turbines, electricians on the poles. Like, bro, I'm not saying it's not any women that do it, but it's more men. It's heavily men in there. It's physical labor, physical. Here's the thing. Physical jobs usually don't pay that well unless it's dangerous. You could die. So if you can die from it, we gonna pay you well. So while you're here, and then it'd be a crazy schedule. Like you ain't never got no day off. So men thinking only in the earning capacity of physical labor jobs. So that's part of the reason why women earn more money than men. Let's dive a little deeper. So I have mentioned this book. I'm not sure if I mentioned it on this channel. So I got 3 YouTube channels, and we'll talk about that more at the end. I was talking about this book. I ran across a young lady's channel on YouTube. I think her name is Dea, and she mentioned this book called The Dip by Seth Godin. And I'm reading this book. I'm like halfway through it, and I noticed early in the book that he was using the pronoun her. And I'm like, why he keep doing this? Now, let me give you a little background or history about this. Grammatically, or when it came to, I hope I ain't make up no word, in grammar, whenever there was a situation where you're using a pronoun, you're talking about a person, and the gender is unknown, it's always referred to as the masculine. So you would use he or him. Just by default, it was just proper grammar to do it that way. But he kept using her and she. And I'm like, it has to be a reason why he's doing this, because I know it's not grammatically correct. So I'm just thinking, critical thinking. I'm like, first of all, it was a woman who recommended the book, and he keeps using these feminine pronouns. Maybe women read more than men. So here's what I asked and found on Google Gemini. Do statistics show women read and buy more books than men? Yes. Statistics consistently show that women read and purchase more books than men across various countries and demographic groups. This difference, often referred to as the gender reading gap, is well documented in the publishing industry and academic surveys. Here are the key takeaways from the statistics. Women read more books, higher readership. Surveys by organizations like the Newport Research Center in the U.S. and national statistic offices in Europe routinely find that a higher percentage of women report having read a book in the past year compared to men. If you're not familiar with statistics, it's very important for you to pay attention to the details. They're just talking about reading one book right now. Higher volume. Women are more likely to be avid or heavy readers, with a significantly higher percentage of women reporting reading a high volume of books, 10, 20, or even 50 plus books in a year compared to men. Fiction versus nonfiction. The gap is particularly wide in fiction. So women tend to read way more fiction books than men do. So here's what's very important about the men that do read. Women overwhelmingly dominate the fiction market and are far more likely to read novels. Men who read tend to gravitate more toward nonfiction genres like history and business, and certain genres of fiction like sci-fi, fantasy, and thrillers. That's key though. Men are reading business and finance books. Business deals with finance, guys. And history tends to repeat itself and is very valuable when you're studying business. So in a way, those two actually work together. Why women buy more books? Dominant consumers. Market data often suggests that women account for the large majority of book purchases. Some older, widely cited figures place this as high as 80% of all book purchases. Purchasing habits. While this figure includes women buying books for children, partners, and as gifts, women higher rate of personal reading and engagement with books, e.g. in book clubs, on social media platforms like BookTok and Bookstagram, is a primary driver of their purchasing power. Potential factors for the gap. Researchers and industry analysts suggest several converging reasons for this consistent gender difference. Childhood habits. Girls are often found to read and report enjoying reading more than boys from a young age. Now, I know some of you guys might not think that writing deals with reading as well, but not just statistics, but in movies, you see a lot of women or little girls writing in journals. I didn't see that a lot in movies of them showing little boys keeping a journal. It's usually a girl writing in a diary or something like that. Socialization role models. Reading is sometimes perceived as a more feminine pastime, which can discourage male participation. And we'll discuss that in a minute. Matter of fact, let's discuss it now. You feel less of a man because you find out that women read more than men, or just because this says it's a feminine pastime for you to read books. That's considered a woman thing. So a man that would think this is a threat to his masculinity or to his manhood because he reads a book or reads books. Publishing focus. The publishing industry, catering to its largest customer base, tends to heavily market fiction and social reading activities like book clubs towards women. Competition for leisure time. Boys and men are often more likely to choose other forms of entertainment, such as gaming or sports, over reading. Guys, this is why I tell you to pay attention to reading, not just pay attention to reading. This is one of the reasons why I tell you to read. You have to pay attention to the words they used. Right here in this line, they are defining reading as a form of entertainment. Let's read the line again so you can catch it, just in case you missed it. Competition for leisure time. Boys and men are often more likely to choose other forms of entertainment. So this means that they're considering reading as a form of entertainment, not something you're doing to educate yourself. Oh man, you have to pay attention to this stuff. They slick by how they be programming you, man. So the women are more avid readers, but they're not reading real stuff. It's fiction. The majority of what they reading is heavily fake. It's made up. But the men that's reading is reading historical events and business. They're reading stuff that's real. That's education. That's not entertainment. Fiction is entertainment. So you got to watch how they're classifying this. So if the reading that you're doing is for entertainment purposes, that's just one type of reading. When men are reading, they're usually reading to grow, to educate themselves. The reason behind the why is different. Their why is different. So such as gaming or sports over reading. So they're considering reading to be a form of entertainment. If you have women that's working on their mind, they're reading, they're engaging in an activity that keeps their brain sharp, because they're not focused on labor jobs, are actually going into markets where the job is more mental than it is physical. And wouldn't you know it, that jobs that require you to do more thinking than physical labor pay more. Jobs that are less physical tend to pay more because you're doing something that requires you to be smart. You're using your mental resources more than your physical resources. This is why women earn more than men. Men getting paid more than women is a myth, because most of the jobs that women work that are not labor or servant type jobs, office jobs, clerk jobs, office jobs, government jobs, pay more because it's a mental type of labor. Men think physical first. That's why we earn less. And part of you working on your mental is reading. And they telling you that it's a discrepancy in the reading based on gender, because women read more than men. And not just one book. They just had reduced the statistics down so low that they started it just basing it off one book. But as we kept reading, they were talking about some women was reading as much as 10, 20, and sometimes more than 50 books a year. We're falling behind, guys, because we're thinking too small and we're not reading. We limiting ourselves. So I want to talk, this is going to be some politics stuff, but just bear with me. The word is being used in politics. I'm not trying to discuss politics right now, but I want to talk to you about the word bureaucracy. So this word was brought to my attention during this election. So I needed to look this word up for me to understand what it means. So let me tell you something about politics. So this isn't about Democrat or Republican. I just want you to understand this. There's some political figures, the president especially of the United States, gets judged off of how well they do during their term. The screen is really bright. How well they do during their term. That's why I'm all glowing. The screen is white. By how many jobs they create. Okay. Now, what I found was all jobs are not created equal. There's two different types of jobs, and this is very important. You have public jobs and you have private jobs. Public jobs are jobs that's provided or within the government. So if a political figure, let's say a president, wants to make it look like they're creating a lot of jobs during their presidency, they'll create more laws, rules, regulations, and different government entities and agencies that require people. Okay. So these are jobs they're creating within the government. That's public jobs. Now, ain't public people? Yes. But they call it public jobs because they're supposed to be providing a service to the public. It's a goofy way of looking at it, but that's why they define it that way. So private jobs are businesses that's created by the citizens. It's owned by the citizens, by us. Those are considered private jobs. There's a big difference between these by how the money comes in. Now we following the money. So in private jobs, the money is coming in through revenue, loans, and investors. But jobs created by the government and the public sector is funded by taxes, fees, and fines. I'll give you an example of the fees and the fines. You should already know what taxes are. A fee is you paying to get your driver's license. You paying to get your tabs for your license plate. Those are fees. Fines is you getting a ticket for speeding or a parking ticket. Those are fines. So those jobs that they create in the government are funded by those things. All right, let's dive into this definition of bureaucracy. Number one, government by many bureaus, administrators, and petty officials. Notice it says petty. It doesn't just say officials. This is petty stuff, guys. It ain't even serious or real. It's just extra stuff. Petty officials. All right. 4, an administration characterized by excessive red tape and routine. That's the one that's very important. This is stuff that's really not necessary. It's extra. It's noise. I didn't know this could be used as a political tool where you just create these extra agencies to be able to artificially inflate job numbers. So it makes it look like there's job growth and creation, but it's in the public sector. You're creating these jobs, and these jobs that you're creating is costing us tax dollars. You're using tax dollars to create the jobs or fees and fines. So you're charging us. It's not coming from the private sector where a business is providing goods and services and their earning is funding how they're paying their employees. So how does this tie in to women earning more money than men? I'm glad you asked. So if you've been paying attention, there have been some changes going on in the employment. Women have been losing a lot of their jobs because a lot of changes are happening in employment with businesses. AI. The political landscape is changing, and AI. So you got them cutting a lot of government jobs that fall under bureaucracy. There are things that are necessary, and then there's stuff that's just extra and red tape and fluffing up the numbers. I'm talking about specifically that stuff. So that's being cut. Then these tedious little jobs or office things and sending emails and managing different things that could be done by AI reduces cost for a business. So now you're shrinking the labor force. You don't need that many people doing stuff anymore. So it's not that people are just losing their job because the business owners are evil or they're not thinking about the people's well-being. The business is trying to earn as much money and keep as much money as possible. They want to be as profitable as possible for the owners and the investors because they're trying to produce a profit and a return. That's what they should be doing as a business. So one of the ways for you to increase your income in your personal finances and in the business is to reduce your expenses. So you have a lot of women losing their jobs because they're doing work that required mental, tedious stuff. And these offices and businesses and the government are cutting some of this stuff or outsourcing it to AI. And wouldn't you know it, that as that's happening, some laws are also changing too. So we'll touch on this real quick because we was talking about generational wealth and having a wife, having a husband, creating generational wealth and having a family. Okay, another threat to that is if you getting incentivized to have a divorce. You have lawyers that specialize just in divorce. That's their bread and butter. This is how they make their money. So they need people to get divorced because that's how they eat. They need it. That's their business. So they want divorces because that's good for them. But that don't mean it's good for the families or the wives and the husbands in the long run. So what do I mean by incentivized? Incentivized is, well, you don't want to hear your husband's mouth no more. You in a state where you just like, I'm through with this. I almost said something. I'm through with him. So not only do you get to leave, you get to keep the house, keep the kids, you get alimony, and you get child support. So temporarily, it looks like I get more benefits leaving than I do staying and being a wife and working with my husband and compromising and working our way through whatever it is we dealing with right now that's going to be temporary. I don't know what the situation is, but if you're really committed to being married for real, you're supposed to work through problems, not give up when you run into them. That's what you're really supposed to do. So in a couple of states, I wish I knew off the top of my head, just think Kentucky was one of them, but don't quote me. They're changing divorce laws. They're changing some of the laws. So one of the laws was by default, the mother, the woman, would always get full custody of the kids and the dad would have to pay child support. So now they're changing some of these laws to where now it's by default 50-50 unless you can prove that the other parent is unfit. So now it's more fair. So if you got the kid half the time, you don't have to fund taking care of the kid the same way if she had 100% custody. So now the child support rate is dropping. And wouldn't you know it, now with that happening, divorce rates drop. And statistics also show that women file for divorce more than men. I mean, why wouldn't you? If you basically getting incentivized to leave, you get to keep everything. The only thing you getting rid of is the husband. And now you got direct access to his money without even asking for it. And it's really y'all money because you married. You should be thinking about everything as being ours. I don't know how you got your stuff set up, but that's how I see it. But you have to do what's best for you and your marriage. So things are changing, guys, and you have to be prepared for it. But part of you taking care of your finances and protecting your finances and building generational wealth is having the ability to choose the right person to spend the rest of your life with and to have a family with. You don't want to just be having kids, especially with multiple people. Life is about more than that. All right. So I believe that one way for you to increase your ability to earn and to combat this change in climate that we're dealing with in the labor force, employment, and the political landscape is to educate yourself by reading more. Men, calling all men, you must read. It is not a feminine thing for you to read. But yeah, guys, we're falling behind because we're not reading. We have to read, and it's what you read. It's not how much you read, it's what you read. You need to read books that's going to help you grow. That's going to teach you about finances. That's going to teach you about communication. That's going to teach you about history, business, your taxes, setting up a trust, communication, relationships, leadership. What's some other good ones? Reading biographies. So you'll realize you ain't the only one with problems. Some of the most successful people you ever heard of had problems you couldn't even fathom. Will blow your mind. So biographies and autobiographies are a great resource. Great resource. You already know. I hope that you learned something, and I hope that you earned something. Hit that like button and put your thoughts down in the comments. Let me know what you guys think. And if you want to dive into a discussion about women, time, and distractions so you can learn how to focus on you and your purpose, make sure you check out this next video. Take care and God bless.